Hello, and welcome back to LPBW Update, the channel that digs deeper and gets you the real story the network doesn't want you to see. For months, we've all been operating under the same assumption: little people, big world is over. Season 25 was the finale. Zach and Tori have left for good. The family is fractured beyond repair, and the farm's legacy is set to die with Matt Roloff. That's the official story. The neat, tidy narrative they fed us. But what if I told you that was the biggest lie of all? What if I told you that not only is season 26 already secretly in production, but that TLC has orchestrated the single most dramatic, high-stakes family reunion in reality TV history? What if I told you that Zach and Tori are not only back, but they're back with a shocking new level of power over the farm? And what if I told you the reason for all of this is a devastating secret Matt Roloff has been hiding from everyone? A secret that forced his hand and changed the entire future of the Roloff dynasty forever? Okay, stop. I know that is a bombshell and your head is probably spinning. We are about to dismantle everything you thought you knew about the end of this show. But before we dive into the exclusive leaked details of what is being internally called the Roloff Summit, I need you to do something. If you want to be the first to get every part of this incredible story, you have to prove it. Right now, hit that like button, click subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss parts 2, 3, and 4 of this exclusive reveal. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this is the story that matters. And trust me, after you hear this, you'll understand. All right, for those of you who are now locked in, let's begin. To understand what's happening, we have to go back to the days immediately after Zach and Tori's podcast announcement that they were leaving the show. Publicly, the family was silent. Matt posted generic photos of the farm. Amy posted about cooking with Chris. It was all designed to project a sense of normalcy and acceptance of the new reality. But behind the scenes, panic was setting in, not just for the family, but for the network, TLC. My source, an industry insider with deep ties to the production company who has asked to remain anonymous, let's call them the producer, has confirmed that the network was blindsided by the finality of Zach and Tori's decision. The show's ratings, while stable, were completely dependent on the family drama. A show with just Matt, Karen, Amy, and Chris was considered a non-starter for a full season. The brand was on the verge of collapse. This is where the story takes its first turn. According to the producer, a high-level network executive made a personal call, not to Matt, not to Amy, but to Chris Marek. Why Chris? Because he is viewed by the network as the ultimate neutral party. He's pragmatic, he's not a Roloff by blood, and he has a good relationship with every single member of the family. The mission given to Chris was simple: find a number, find a scenario, find anything that would bring Zach and Tori back to the table for one last conversation. Not for the show, but for the family. The network knew that without a family resolution, there could be no show resolution. This led to a series of tense, secret phone calls. Chris to Zach, Chris to Amy, Amy to Tori. It was a delicate dance of diplomacy, with decades of baggage and hurt feelings hanging over every word. Zach was reportedly adamant. It's not about money, Chris. It's about respect. It's about the toxic environment for our kids. Tori was even more resolute, concerned about the mental health toll it was taking on her. They were done. And they would have stayed done, if not for the second, more critical event that changed the entire game. And this part has been kept under a complete media blackout until now. In late winter, after the season had finished filming, Matt Roloff had a private health scare. This was not the shunt issue Zach experienced. This was something new, and for Matt, something far more terrifying. Matt suffered a severe fall on the farm while working alone on a new project near the woods. He was unable to get up, and it was hours before Karen found him. While he wasn't critically injured, the incident led to a series of doctor's appointments that resulted in a stark diagnosis, a rapidly accelerating deterioration of his joints far beyond what his form of dwarfism would normally predict. The doctors gave him a timeline, not a timeline for his life, but a timeline for his ability to work the farm, his ability to climb on the machines, his ability to live the life he had built for himself. That timeline was 5 years maximum. After that, he'd likely be reliant on a wheelchair and would require significant assistance. Suddenly, Matt wasn't just thinking about his legacy in an abstract way. He was facing a concrete future where he would be physically incapable of managing Roloff farms. The dream of his dream house became a potential prison if he couldn't even walk the land it was built on. This existential crisis, this confrontation with his own mortality and physical limitations, is what truly broke him. He realized 2 things. 1, his stubborn pride had cost him his family. 2, without one of his sons, his life's work, the farm, would be sold off to strangers and disappear the moment he could no longer manage it. This is the catalyst. This is the secret he was hiding. And this is why he called what my source has dubbed the summit. A secret meeting was arranged. The location was carefully chosen to be neutral territory, a private high-end conference room at the Nines Hotel in downtown Portland. No cameras were supposed to be there, but we'll get to that later. The attendees were the core 6, Matt and Corinne, Amy and Chris, and Zach and Tori. Jeremy and Audrey were pointedly not invited to this initial meeting. Matt knew he had to fix the original wound before he could even think about addressing the secondary one. Our source has provided a startlingly detailed account of what happened inside that room. The tension was suffocating. Zach and Tori reportedly sat with their arms crossed, their faces like stone, refusing to even look at Matt directly. Amy was visibly nervous, wringing her hands, while Chris maintained a calm, observant presence. Matt began. And according to the source, it was not the typically blustering, defensive Matt Roloff we see on TV. This was a broken man. He spoke for nearly 20 minutes, uninterrupted. He didn't make excuses. He didn't talk about business or market value. He apologized. He looked directly at Zach and Tori and apologized for his arrogance. He apologized for not seeing the situation from his son's perspective. He said the words Zach had been waiting to hear for years. I was wrong. Putting a price tag on our family's legacy was the biggest mistake of my life. And I am sorry. I am deeply sorry for the pain I caused you, Tori, and for what I put my grandchildren through. He then turned to Amy and apologized for how he handled the divorce and the division of the farm, admitting his actions created the initial fissure that made the conflict with Zach possible. The room was silent. Tori was reportedly crying softly. Zach's expression had softened, but he remained guarded. He'd been burned by his father's promises before. Then, Matt slid a thick folder across the table. This was his peace offering, and it was more audacious than anyone could have ever imagined. It wasn't just an offer to sell Zach the farm. It was a complete restructuring of the entire Roloff dynasty. Inside the folder was a proposal for the Roloff Legacy Trust. Here are the key points of the proposal as leaked to me. Point 1, the entire farm to be placed in a trust. The entire 100 plus acres. The north side, the south side, the pumpkin patch, the wedding barns, everything. The trust beneficiaries would not be Matt's children. They would be his grandchildren. Jackson, Lila, Josiah, Bo, Radley, and Ember. All of them, equally. This immediately neutralized the idea that one child was being favored over another. The farm would belong to the next generation, legally protected from being sold off. Point 2, a new role for Zach. Matt offered Zach a salaried position effective immediately as Vice President of Farm Operations. This was a real job with real responsibilities, designed to be an apprenticeship. The proposal included a legally binding 5-year plan for Zach to learn every aspect of the business, from crop management to financial planning. At the end of the 5 years, coinciding with Matt's own health-mandated step back, Zach would automatically assume the role of president and take over full operational control of the farm for the trust. Point 3, a new home, not the old one. Recognizing the painful memories associated with the original farmhouse, Matt's offer included a shocking provision. He would sever a 5-acre parcel of land, the most scenic part of the property, overlooking the lake, and gift it to Zach and Tori, free and clear. He would then fund the construction of a brand new home for them on that land, built to their exact specifications, fully accessible for their family. They could have their own space, their own home, while still being on the land that was their heritage. Point 4, the role of the other siblings. The proposal transparently laid out that Jeremy would be offered a similar, though distinct, opportunity to manage a new venture on the property, perhaps an expansion into organic farming or a new agritourism business, but that Zach, as the one who stayed, would be given the primary leadership role. It acknowledged Jacob's desire to work the land and offered him a permanent paid position as a farmhand under Zach's management. This wasn't just an apology. This was a comprehensive, legally binding plan for the future. It gave Zach everything he ever wanted: respect, a clear path to leadership, and a secure future for his children on the farm. It corrected the original sin of the failed sale and went 10 steps beyond it. Zach was reportedly speechless. He looked at Tori, whose tears were now tears of shock and confusion, not just sadness. The air in the room had completely changed. This wasn't a trick. This wasn't a plot for a TV show. This felt real. The level of detail, the legal framework, the sheer financial scale of the offer, it was undeniable. Chris, the pragmatist, immediately started asking questions. What's the tax implication? Who is the executor of this trust? What are the operating budgets? Matt had answers for everything. He had spent weeks with lawyers and financial planners. He had thought of every angle. The meeting ended with no firm decision. Zach asked for time to process and discuss it with Tori privately. But for the first time in years, the door was not just unlocked. It was wide open. They agreed to meet again in 1 week. It seems like a perfect fairy tale ending in the making, right? The broken family is healed by a father's desperate, loving act. The son gets his birthright. The legacy is secured. This is the heartwarming story that would make for an incredible season 26. But remember when I said there were no cameras? That wasn't entirely true. The producer has confirmed that 2 single stationary cameras were hidden in the conference room, authorized by the network with Matt and Chris's knowledge. The network was gambling. They were hoping for a breakthrough, and they wanted it on tape. Zach and Tori were not informed about the cameras until after the meeting was over. And that betrayal, however well-intentioned, is nothing compared to the other secret. The secret that Matt didn't reveal in that room. The proposal was built on the foundation of his health crisis, his 5-year timeline. It's what makes his offer so desperate and so genuine. But my source has revealed one final devastating piece of information. A detail that Matt omitted. His doctors didn't just give him a timeline for his physical abilities. They gave him a timeline for something else. Something much more serious that they discovered during his medical evaluation. Matt Roloff's grand plan to save his family and his farm is a race against the clock he hasn't told anyone about. The 5-year plan he offered Zach isn't a conservative estimate. It's a best-case scenario. And what he's hiding from them, what he's hiding from the world, is a secret that doesn't just threaten the farm. It threatens to make this grand reconciliation an utter tragedy. What is that secret, and how will it impact Jeremy's inevitable and explosive return to the negotiations. We'll expose all of that in part 2. In part 1, we pulled back the curtain on the biggest cover-up in Little People. Big world history. We revealed the secret Roloff Summit, Matt's shocking apology, and his breathtaking offer to save the farm and his family by placing it all in a trust for his grandchildren and making Zach the heir apparent. But we left you on a precipice with a question that changes everything. What is the devastating health secret Matt Roloff is really hiding? The fall on the farm was the catalyst. The 5-year physical timeline was the story he told his family. But it wasn't the whole story. Tonight, we revealed the truth. And I warn you, this is a truth that recasts Matt's every action, not as a business strategy, but as a desperate race against the fading light. My source, the producer who has risked their career to bring this story to light, has confirmed the full diagnosis Matt received from his team of specialists, and it is so much more devastating than failing joints. During the extensive evaluations following his fall, doctors noticed subtle but troubling cognitive signs. A slight tremor in his hands he dismissed as fatigue. Moments of confusion he'd hidden from Karen. A difficulty finding words he'd chalked up to stress. After a battery of neurological tests and brain imaging, they came back with a diagnosis that explained everything, including his accelerating physical decline. Matt Roloff has been diagnosed with early onset Lewy body dementia. For those who don't know, LBD is a cruel and progressive disease. It attacks the mind and the body simultaneously. It shares symptoms with both Parkinson's, affecting motor control, and Alzheimer's, causing memory loss and cognitive decline. The doctors didn't just give him a 5-year timeline for his physical ability to run the farm. They gave him a 5 to 8 year life expectancy from the point of diagnosis. This is the ticking clock. This is Matt's secret. He isn't just trying to secure his legacy before he's in a wheelchair. He's trying to secure it before he can no longer remember his children's names. He's trying to pass the torch before the man who built the farm is gone, leaving only a shell behind. His desperation, his grand gesture, his willingness to give up everything, it wasn't just about regret, it was about redemption. A final, lucid act to fix what he broke while he still could. Now, let's go back to that hotel room. The meeting ends. Zach and Tori are shell-shocked by the offer. There's a flicker of hope. They agree to take a week to think. They leave, and for a moment, it seems like a miracle is possible. But then comes the first betrayal. According to my source, Chris Merrick was deeply troubled by the hidden cameras. He felt it violated the spirit of the meeting. That night, he drove to Zach and Tori's house in Battleground, Washington. He confessed. He told them the entire meeting had been secretly filmed for the show. The reaction was explosive. Tori was livid. For her, it proved this was never about family. It was about content for TLC. It was a performance. Zach was beyond hurt. He was enraged. He felt like his father had used his deepest emotional pain as a prop. He saw his father's tears not as genuine, but as a scene for the camera. He called Matt. The conversation, as described to me, was brutal. "You set me up," Zach yelled. "You humiliated me and my wife on camera without our consent. The deal is off. We're done. For good this time." He hung up, and the entire plan, the entire hope for reconciliation, was dead. The Roloff Legacy Trust was dead on arrival. This is the kind of raw, backstabbing drama that has kept this show on the air for 2 decades. It's the ultimate reality TV paradox. An act of filming meant to capture a beautiful reconciliation ends up being the very thing that destroys it. If you are as gripped by this unbelievable turn of events as I am, take a second and please hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. Your support is what allows us to keep digging for these hidden truths. You are not going to want to miss where this goes next. With the deal dead and Zach refusing to even speak to him, Matt was shattered. He had made the biggest gesture of his life, and it had blown up in his face. But he had one last card to play. The truth, the full truth. This is when Amy Roloff becomes the hero of the story. Matt, in a state of utter desperation, called Amy. He told her everything. Not just about the cameras, but about the LBD diagnosis. He laid his soul bare to his ex-wife, the one person who has known him longer than anyone. Amy, according to my source, was profoundly shaken. This transcended all the petty arguments about the farm, all the bitterness of the divorce. This was about the father of her children facing his own mortality. She knew what she had to do. She drove to Zach and Tori's house. There were no cameras this time. This was just a mother talking to her son and daughter-in-law. She sat them down and told them the full story. She told them about Matt's diagnosis, the true timeline, the fear in his voice. She said, "This isn't about the farm anymore, Zach. This is about your father's last wish. He knows he messed up. He is trying, in the only way he knows how, to make it right before his time runs out. The cameras were wrong. It was a mistake. But his offer was real. His apology was real. Please don't let pride be the reason you regret not taking this chance." That conversation changed the dynamic. The anger towards Matt was still there, but it was now dwarfed by a profound sadness and a terrifying new understanding. They agreed to one more meeting, but with the condition, no more secrets, and everyone had to be there. This brings us to the next crucial phase, the inclusion of Jeremy and Audrey. Up to this point, they had been completely in the dark. They knew Zach and Tori had left the show, but they had no idea about the secret summit or the legacy offer. From their perspective, the farm's future was still a painful, unresolved issue. Matt knew he couldn't make the same mistake twice. He had to be the one to tell Jeremy. He invited Jeremy and Audrey to the farm for a private dinner. There, he laid out the same story he told Amy. He explained the legacy trust proposal he had made to Zach, and he confessed his diagnosis. The reaction was complex. Jeremy was visibly heartbroken by his father's health news, but that heartbreak was tangled with years of feeling overlooked. According to my source, Jeremy's first question was, "Why Zach? Why was he the first one you went to? Why was he the one offered the presidency?" Audrey, always pragmatic and fiercely protective of her husband, was even more direct. She saw the flaws in the plan immediately. "Matt," she reportedly said, "you are handing the keys to a multi-million-dollar business to someone who has never run a business. We love Zach, but Jeremy has spent years building his own brands, writing bestsellers, managing budgets. Don't you think he should have a co-equal role in this to protect the trust, to protect the legacy?" Matt was now caught in a trap of his own making. In his desperation to heal the wound with Zach, he had created a new one with Jeremy. He had unintentionally pitted his sons against each other once again, but they all agreed that the conversation had to continue. A second summit was scheduled, this time at the farm in the old wedding barn. The location was symbolic, a place of new beginnings. This time, all 8 of them would be there. Matt and Corinne, Amy and Chris, Zach and Tori, and Jeremy and Audrey. And this time, the TLC cameras were there with everyone's full knowledge. This was it. The future of the Roloff family, filmed for season 20s. So the scene is set for part 3. The entire family gathers in the barn. The air is thick with grief, suspicion, and a fragile, desperate hope. Matt's secret is out. Everyone knows what's at stake. Matt begins to speak, ready to represent his legacy trust offer to the entire family, hoping for a unified path forward. But before he can finish his first sentence, Jeremy holds up a hand to stop him. He looks his father in the eye, his expression a mixture of love and steely resolve. He then looks at Zach. "Dad, I've heard your plan," Jeremy says, his voice echoing slightly in the vast barn. "And I respect what you're trying to do, but with everything we know now, it's not good enough. It's too risky." He reaches down beside his chair and pulls out his own folder. A bright orange folder, a stark contrast to Matt's plain manila one. He slides it onto the center of the table. "I have a counter-proposal," Jeremy announces to the stunned room. "A way to truly protect this family and this farm. It's a co-presidency, a partnership, but it comes with conditions that I don't think Zach is going to like." The battle for the soul of Roloff Farms has just begun. It's not father versus son anymore. It's brother versus brother. In part 2, we uncovered the tragic secret fueling Matt Roloff's frantic quest for redemption, a terminal diagnosis that redefines everything. We saw a family on the brink of reconciliation, only to be torn apart again by the very act of filming their story. But a mother's plea brought them back to the table, this time with everyone present. And just when it seemed a fragile peace was possible, the entire dynamic shifted. The battle was no longer just about the past. It was now about the future. We ended with Jeremy Roloff, the prodigal son, stopping the proceedings and presenting his own plan, his own vision for the farm. A counterproposal. Tonight, we open that orange folder. We will reveal the shocking conditions of Jeremy's plan, the explosive reaction from Zach and Tori, and the impossible choice Matt Roloff is forced to make between his two sons. The scene is the wedding barn. All 8 key players are there. The air is so thick with history and unspoken resentment, you could cut it with a knife. Jeremy's orange folder sits on the table, a declaration of war or a blueprint for peace. No one is sure which. The producer, who had a front row seat to this entire confrontation from the control room, Jeremy began to speak with a confidence no one had seen from him in years. This wasn't the aimless young man who left the show. This was a businessman, a brand builder, a man who believed he had the only viable solution. He started by acknowledging the elephant in the room. "Dad," he said, looking at Matt with a mixture of empathy and firmness, "your diagnosis changes the timeline. We don't have 5 years to apprentice. We need a functioning, profitable, and stable leadership team in place now. Your plan to make Zach the sole president is based on emotion, not on business. And this farm, for the sake of the grandchildren's trust, has to be a business first." Zach immediately bristled. "A business? This is our home, Jeremy. This is our childhood. It has to be both, or it will be neither," Jeremy shot back, not missing a beat. He then opened his folder. Here are the explosive key points of the Roloff brothers' co-presidency plan, as detailed by my source. Point 1, a 50-50 power split with a catch. Jeremy proposed a dual leadership structure. He and Zach would be co-presidents of Roloff Farms. They would have equal votes on all major decisions. However, and this is the catch, Jeremy's plan created 2 distinct divisions. The agricultural division, pumpkin season, farming operations, would be Zach's primary domain. The business development division, marketing, brand partnerships, new ventures, short-term rentals, digital outreach, would be Jeremy's. All major financial decisions would require unanimous approval. Point 2, the sweat equity clause. This was the most controversial point. Jeremy argued that since he and Audrey had spent years building their own successful businesses and brand, while Zach had been on the farm payroll, a simple 50-50 split of the future profits wasn't fair. He proposed a buy-in. While the land would be in the trust, the operating company of Roloff Farms would be owned by the brothers. Jeremy and Audrey would put up $500,000 of their own money to capitalize the new company. Zach, in lieu of cash, would contribute his sweat equity, but that equity would only be valued at 25% of the company to start. He could earn up to 5% over a decade based on meeting specific, rigorous performance metrics for the agricultural division. In essence, Jeremy wanted to be the majority owner of the business at the start. Point 3, the lifestyle mandate in Audrey's role. Jeremy's plan stipulated that the farm's public image had to be cohesive. This meant a morality and lifestyle clause heavily influenced by Audrey, requiring all public-facing farm activities and social media to align with their beating 50% brand values. This gave Audrey, who would be the unpaid head of marketing, effective veto power over the farm's branding. It was a clear attempt to reshape the farm's image in their own likeness. Point 4, a decisive tiebreaker. What happens if the brothers deadlock? Jeremy's plan proposed a 3-person advisory board to break any ties. The board would consist of 1 person appointed by Zach, 1 by Jeremy, and a 3rd neutral party. Who did Jeremy nominate for that crucial neutral role? Chris Marek. It was a brilliant strategic move, as Chris is trusted by everyone. But it also put an immense amount of pressure on Amy's husband to be the ultimate decider of the farm's fate. The reaction in the barn was a firestorm. Tori was the first to speak, her voice trembling with rage. A buy-in? You want us to earn our way into our own family after everything Zach has given to this place? His loyalty, his health, his entire life? This is the most insulting thing I have ever heard. Zach was white-hot with fury. He stood up, knocking his chair back slightly. So I get to do the back-breaking work, the actual farming, while you and Audrey sit in an office and dictate our brand values. You want to be the boss of me on my own land. The land Dad just offered to me? No, absolutely not. Audrey calmly responded, "We're not trying to be the boss, Zach. We're trying to save the business, a business you have never had to run. We are risking $500,000 of our own money. That has to be respected." The argument devolved into a brutal, emotional firefight. It was years of unspoken resentment boiling over. Zach accused Jeremy of abandoning the family for fame and fortune, only to swoop back in to claim the crown. Jeremy accused Zach of having no ambition beyond living in their father's shadow, content to take a handout without any real-world business acumen. It was a nightmare. Amy was in tears, pleading with them to stop. Corinne tried to interject, but Tori cut her off, saying, "You have no say here, Corinne." It was complete chaos. Through it all, Matt Roloff sat silently at the head of the table, his face a mask of profound grief. This was his worst nightmare realized. His attempt to bring his family together had ignited a civil war. He was watching his sons tear each other apart over a legacy he was trying to give them, all while the clock on his own mind was ticking away. This moment is the emotional core of the entire season. It's a crucible. And if you're feeling the weight of this family's tragedy, if you're invested in what happens next, please hit that like button and double check that you're subscribed. This story is reaching its final critical turning point, and you need to be here for it. Host. The screaming match lasted for nearly an hour. Finally, Chris Marek stood up. His voice, calm and steady, cut through the noise. "Enough," he said, with an authority that silenced everyone. "Look at yourselves. Look at what you're doing to your parents. Is this what you want your children to see? Is this a legacy?" He then turned to Matt. "Matt, this isn't working. Neither plan is going to work as long as this bitterness exists. You can't choose between them. It will break this family forever." Matt looked up, his eyes hollow. He knew Chris was right. He couldn't choose Zach's plan and alienate Jeremy. He couldn't choose Jeremy's plan and betray Zach. He was trapped. The legacy trust, the co-presidency, it was all dust. He slowly, painfully got to his feet. Every eye was on him. He walked to the center of the room, standing between his 2 sons, who were now sitting silently, refusing to look at each other. "You're right, Chris," Matt said, his voice raspy with emotion. "I can't choose." He looked at Zach. "I can't invalidate your loyalty." He looked at Jeremy. "And I can't ignore your ambition." He looked around at all of them, his family, broken and warring in the monument he had built. "So I'm not going to," he said. He then made a decision that no one, not the producers, not his family, not a single person in that barn saw coming. It was an act of pure, desperate, and terrifying improvisation. "The offers are off the table," Matt declared. "Both of them." He took a deep breath. "There is only one way to settle this. One way to know for sure who is meant to lead this farm into the future. It has to be earned. Not with money, not with promises, with results." He looked back and forth between his sons. "So here's the new deal. We are going to have a contest." "A contest?" The room was stunned into silence. "This coming pumpkin season," Matt announced, his voice gaining strength, "will be divided. Literally, I'm drawing a line down the middle of the pumpkin patch. Zach, you get the west side. Jeremy, you get the east side. You will each be given an identical fixed budget. You will be responsible for your own attractions, your own marketing, your own staff, for your half of the farm." At the end of the 31 days of October, Matt said, his voice dropping to a deadly serious tone, "we will tally the results, not just profit. We will track attendance, customer satisfaction surveys, and social media engagement. The son who wins pumpkin season wins the farm. They get to be president. They get to execute their plan. The other walks away." He paused, letting the insane gamble sink in. "It's Roloff versus Roloff," Matt declared. "Winner takes all." A family legacy will now be decided by a public spectacle. A father's love has become a gladiator's contest. For the past 3 episodes, we have been on an unbelievable journey behind the curtain of Little People, Big World. We've exposed the secrets, the lies, and the desperate hidden truths that have driven this family to the brink. We've seen a father's terminal diagnosis, a son's fury, and a brother's ambition collide in a perfect storm of drama. It all led to one impossible moment in the wedding barn. Matt Roloff, unable to choose between his warring sons, abdicated his throne and turned the fate of his legacy into a public spectacle. A contest, Roloff versus Roloff, Zach versus Jeremy. The winner of pumpkin season would win control of the entire farm. The loser would walk away. Tonight, in our final installment, we take you inside that contest. We will reveal the strategies, the betrayals, and the emotional toll of the most high-stakes pumpkin season in Roloff history. And we will finally answer the question that has been hanging over this family for a decade. Who is the rightful heir to Roloff Farms? The answer will shock you. It's not what you think. As my source, the producer, describes it, the weeks leading up to October were the most tense period in the show's history. The farm was literally divided. A line of hay bales was placed down the center of the main pumpkin field. 2 separate entrances were constructed. It was a surreal sight. A family civil war played out for the public to see. Zach went all in on tradition and authenticity. He branded his side Roloff Ridge, leaning into the nostalgia that longtime fans loved. His strategy was built on 3 pillars. Family. First, he and Tori made themselves the main attraction. They were out in the field every day with Jackson, Lila, and Josiah. They did personal meet and greets, posed for thousands of photos, and created an atmosphere that felt like the old days. Classic attractions. Zach brought back beloved retired attractions like the Spud Gun and refurbished the old wooden pirate ship. He focused on simple hands-on activities. Hay rides driven by Zach himself, a petting zoo, and a corn maze designed by Tori. It was rustic, charming, and deeply personal. The underdog narrative. Tori, a master of social media, subtly crafted a narrative of their side being the heart of the farm, fighting against the corporate side. Her posts were filled with candid photos of the kids covered in mud, genuine smiles, and heartfelt captions about what the farm truly means to them. Jeremy and Audrey took the exact opposite approach. They branded their side the Roloff Experience, a polished, modern, Instagram-worthy destination. Their strategy was sleek and professional. Premium and exclusive. They introduced tiered ticketing. A general admission got you onto their side, but a VIP pass offered access to an exclusive lounge with artisanal cider, gourmet snacks, and a private meet and greet with Jeremy and Audrey. Curated aesthetics, every inch of their side was designed for photos. They built a massive, beautifully decorated harvest pavilion, commissioned a local artist to create stunning photo backdrops, and had professional photographers on site. The branding was consistent from the coffee cups to the staff uniforms. Influencer marketing, Audrey leveraged her massive online network. They invited lifestyle bloggers and influencers for a pre-opening weekend, generating enormous online buzz. Their marketing was slick, professional, and targeted a younger, more affluent demographic. The tension was palpable. The brothers, once inseparable, didn't speak. They worked on opposite sides of the hay bale wall, communicating only through terse text messages about shared resources like electricity and water. Amy and Chris were caught in the middle, trying to spend equal time on both sides, their faces etched with stress. Matt and Corinne observed from a distance, watching the competition unfold with a mixture of pride and horror. Matt, in particular, was visibly declining. The stress of the contest was accelerating his symptoms, and there were several moments caught on camera where he seemed confused or unsteady, a heartbreaking reality check amidst the manufactured drama. This battle for the farm was more than just a rating stunt. It was a genuine philosophical clash. And if you believe this family story deserves to be told with this level of depth, please, one last time, show your support by hitting that like button and ensuring you are subscribed. This final reveal is the culmination of everything we've been building toward. The final day of October arrives. Halloween. The contest is over. The gates are closed. That night, the family gathers one last time in the wedding barn. The mood is funereal. An accounting firm hired to ensure impartiality has the results in a sealed envelope. Chris Merrick, acting as the designated master of ceremonies, stands before the family. He holds the envelope. Zach and Tori are on one side of the room, Jeremy and Audrey on the other. They look exhausted, emotionally drained. Chris opens the envelope. "I have the final results," he says, his voice heavy. "I'm going to break it down by the 3 metrics Matt requested. Metric 1, customer satisfaction and social media engagement." Chris looks up. This one was a landslide. The authenticity, the personal touch. The winner is Zach and Tori. A small, sad smile flickers across Tori's face. Zach remains stoic. Metric 2, total attendance. Chris takes a deep breath. This was much closer. The appeal of the classic farm versus the modern experience brought in different crowds, but by a margin of just under 7%. The winner is Jeremy and Audrey. Jeremy nods slowly, a flicker of validation in his eyes. It was tied, 1 metric each. It all came down to the final number, gross profit, the ultimate measure of business success. Chris stares at the paper for a long moment. No one breathes. After all expenses, he says, his voice barely a whisper, the winner of the profit metric, the winner of the contest is Jeremy and Audrey. The words hang in the air. Jeremy and Audrey's Roloff experience had generated 22% more profit than Zach's traditional Roloff Ridge. The VIP passes and modern marketing had worked. Jeremy had won. According to the rules, he was the new president of Roloff Farms. Audrey puts a hand on Jeremy's arm, a look of relief on her face. Jeremy looks not triumphant, but somber. He looks over at his brother. Zach's face is completely blank. He shows no emotion. Tori, however, breaks down completely, burying her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. The sight of his wife's devastation finally breaks Zach's composure. He puts an arm around her, pulls her close, and glares across the room at his brother, his eyes filled with a lifetime of pain and betrayal. He then helps Tori to her feet, and without a single word to anyone, They turn and walk out of the barn, out of the shot, and seemingly out of the family forever. The camera holds on the empty doorway, then on Amy's heartbroken face. It's a devastating, hollow victory. This is where the show wants to end the season. A brutal, tragic cliffhanger. Jeremy wins, Zach leaves, the family is shattered. But my source, the producer, has confirmed there is one more scene. A scene filmed weeks later, a scene so powerful it might just change everything again. The scene takes place on the front porch of Matt's nearly completed dream house. It's just Jeremy and Matt. Jeremy looks troubled. "Dad, I won," Jeremy says, "but I lost my brother. This isn't what I wanted." Matt looks older, more frail than ever before. He looks at his son and gives him a weak smile. "I know, son. I made a terrible mistake. I turned my love for you boys into a weapon. I forced you to fight for something I should have given freely. My pride. It cost us everything." Then Jeremy slides a folder across the table. The same orange folder from the first meeting. "I can't do it, Dad," Jeremy says, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't take the farm like this. I've been talking to Audrey. We've been praying on it. This isn't our path, not like this." He opens the folder. It's his counter-proposal, but it's been amended. He has crossed out his own name from the co-president title. He's crossed out the buy-in clause. He's crossed out the lifestyle mandate. He has rewritten it to mirror Matt's original offer. Zach is named president. The farm is in the trust for the grandchildren. Jeremy has only added one new clause. It creates a new independent entity, the Roloff Legacy Foundation. "I don't want the farm," Jeremy explains. "I want to protect it. The foundation, funded by a percentage of the farm's profits, will be my role. Audrey and I will run it. Our job will be to manage the trust, to handle the long-term investments, to explore brand partnerships that benefit the whole family, and to ensure every grandchild's share is protected. Zach runs the land. I'll help protect the legacy. We'll work separately, but together, as partners, real partners." It's a moment of incredible maturity and sacrifice. Jeremy found a way to use his business skills not to control the farm, but to serve it. He chose his brother over his ambition. The final shot of the season, and perhaps the series, is of two cars pulling up to Zach and Tori's house in Battleground. The first is Matt's, the second is Jeremy's. They get out, holding the amended proposal. They walk up to the front door, share a look of fragile hope, and Matt raises his hand to knock. The screen cuts to black before the door opens, and that is the end. It's a conclusion that is both heartbreaking and hopeful. A family destroyed and perhaps, just perhaps, on the verge of being rebuilt in a new way. It's a story of failure, forgiveness, and ultimate sacrifice. Whether Zach and Tori accept this final beautiful peace offering is the question that will define the future of the Roloff family on or off the screen. Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. LPBW Update will continue to follow every development. We'll see you next time.